It was February 9th, 2004, a cold Monday evening in New Hampshire. 22-year-old Maura Murray, a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts, had just crashed her car on a rural road near Haverhill. A passing bus driver stopped and asked if she needed help. She said no. He drove off to call the police. By the time officers arrived just minutes later, Maura was gone. No footprints in the snow, no blood, no signs of struggle. Just a locked car, a cracked windshield, and the silence of the woods. This is the true story of one of the most baffling unsolved disappearances in modern American history. Maura Murray was bright, athletic, and ambitious. She came from a close-knit family in Massachusetts and had once been a standout track star in high school. She started her college journey at the prestigious West Point Military Academy before transferring to UMass to pursue nursing. But in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, something had changed. She seemed distant, distracted, anxious. On February 5th, while working her campus security job, she received a phone call that left her visibly shaken. Her supervisor found her sobbing uncontrollably. When asked what was wrong, she could only say, "My sister." But later, her sister claimed she hadn't spoken to Maura. So what was the real reason behind those tears? The very next day, Maura's father came to visit. They went car shopping together. Maura had recently crashed his Toyota. That night, she borrowed his brand new car and crashed it again, just after midnight. She told the officer she had lost control on a sharp curve. Was it an honest mistake or a sign of something deeper? 2 days later, on February 9th, Maura emailed her professors. She said there had been a death in the family and she needed time away, but no one in her family had died. Instead, she withdrew $280 from her bank account, emptied her dorm room of most belongings, and drove north toward the White Mountains. She didn't tell anyone where she was going, not her father, not her boyfriend, not her friends. She stopped at a liquor store buying boxed wine and vodka. She filled her tank. She printed directions to accommodations in Vermont and New Hampshire. At around 7:25 p.m., she lost control of her car and slid into a snowbank on Route 112 in Haverhill. A local school bus driver, Butch Atwood, stopped to help. He described her as polite, shaken, but not injured. She declined his offer to call police, saying she'd already called AAA, but records show no such call was ever made. Atwood drove home and called 911 at 7:43 p.m. When police arrived minutes later, Maura was gone. Her car was locked. The driver's side was dented. Her belongings were still inside: alcohol, makeup, school books. But some things were missing: her cell phone, her debit card, her ID. They were never recovered. Even more strange, no footprints led away from the car in any direction, and dogs tracked her scent for just 100 yards, then lost it completely. Search teams scoured the area. Helicopters, infrared cameras, bloodhounds. Nothing. The woods were searched over and over again. Rivers were dragged. Volunteers combed the terrain. No sign of Maura. Her family, especially her father Fred, launched their own investigation. He appeared on national news, handed out flyers, and even camped out in the search area. He believed from the beginning she was taken. She didn't just disappear. Despite extensive efforts, investigators found no clues, no clothing, no phone, not even disturbed branches. It was as if she had simply melted into the landscape. Volunteers traveled from out of state to help. Locals offered their land, barns, and cabins to be searched. Posters were hung across New England. Billboards showed her face. Reward money was raised. And yet, no credible leads ever surfaced. Even cadaver dogs brought in weeks later failed to pick up a strong scent. And with each day that passed, hope began to fade. So what happened? There are three main theories. Theory 1, she ran away. Some suggest she was overwhelmed. Academic stress, personal issues, a recent car accident. Maybe she wanted to disappear and start over. But why no contact? Why no sightings? And why leave without money, ID, or clothes? Theory 2, she died of exposure. Maybe she panicked, fled the scene to avoid trouble, and succumbed to the freezing cold. But that theory fails to explain why no trace of her has ever been found. Not even now, 20 years later. Theory 3, foul play. Did someone stop and pick her up after the crash? Did she hitchhike and fall into the wrong hands? Some believe a local resident may have been involved. Others think it was a random predator. There were disturbing rumors. A house near the crash site had a suspicious concrete floor poured shortly after. Ground-penetrating radar showed anomalies. Dogs hit on scents near a nearby property, but no solid evidence ever emerged. In recent years, new podcasts, YouTube channels, and Reddit threads have reignited interest in the case. People continue to speculate, investigate, and search. Maura's story was even featured on shows like 2020 and Disappeared. But despite all the attention, there are still more questions than answers. Why lie about a death in the family? Why head into the mountains alone? Why pack up her entire dorm? And most haunting of all, why did she vanish in just minutes without a trace? Maura's father still believes his daughter met with foul play. Her sister Julie continues to advocate for justice, and a growing online community refuses to forget her name. Even today, no body has been found, no suspect has been charged, no new evidence has emerged. Maura Murray simply vanished. And so, 2 decades later, the mystery remains. Another face on a missing persons poster, another file in an unsolved case, another family waiting for closure. What do you think happened to Maura Murray? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoy true stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to Whispered Shadows, because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that really happened.